Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. As he's preparing the audio, we'll revise, inshaAllah, what we took last time. طيب, أقسام المياه, the categories of water. What did we mention? Categories of water? How many categories? Ṭāhir and Najis. Some scholars said, how many categories? 3. What did they say? Ṭāhir, Ṭāhir, and Najis. To them, what's the difference between Ṭāhir and Ṭāhir? Ṭāhir is pure and purifying. Naam, ahsant. Ṭāhir is pure, but it cannot purify. Ṭāhir is pure and purifying. It's purifying. طيب. What's an evidence that we said that the stronger position is that water is only 2 categories? What's an evidence we can use for that? You got the first part. إن الماء طهور لا ينجسه شيء. Water is طهور, nothing makes it najis. If someone says, well, if the color or smell or taste changes due to najāsah, it's not طهور anymore. So how does the hadith say إن الماء طهور لا ينجسه شيء? It's not made najis by anything. Huh? Anyone? Anyway, the Prophet said the water is طهور, nothing makes it najis. Okay? Clear, explicit, authentic hadith. So why are we saying it becomes najis if najāsah changes the color, taste, or smell? Huh? No, it is water. You say ma najis, najis water. Huh? Ijma', ahsant. Why did we exclude that? Ijma', consensus that if the taste or color or smell changes due to najāsah, it becomes najis by ijma', by consensus. طيب. What is al-ma' al-mutlaq? Just unrestricted water. Ahsan, the one that's remained in its original form, the way Allah created. What are some examples of water in its original form? Rainwater, ocean, river water, lake. Ahsan. طيب, what about Zamzam? Is that Zamzam also? طيب. What's the ruling on making using Zamzam for tahara? Why? Yajuz, why? It's water. No, it's not ijma'. It's not ijma'. Some ulama differ on this issue. It's still considered water, ahsant, and it's purifying. It's purifying. طيب. What about removing najāsah with Zamzam water? Yajuz. Why? So it's correct. It's correct to remove najāsah with Zamzam water. But some of the ulama said it is makruh. And some said haram. Some said makruh, some said haram. طيب. The ruling on water that was heated with the sun. Heating water with the sun. What's the ruling on using that type of water? Yajuz bi karaha. Yajuz and it's makruh. Bila karaha. لماذا bila karaha? Why is it without karaha? Ijma'? No, what ijma'? No, ijma' on this? Ijma' that what? No, it's the ijma' is that the water is purifying. It's correct to use. But what's the ruling on using it? You understand the difference? What's the ruling? But it's makruh. No. طيب, what's the right of position? بكراهة or بغير كراهة؟ بلا كراهة. لماذا? Why did we say بلا كراهة? It's been altered, so it's makruh. No, that's why, not why. No, that's bila karah is something else. The ones who say it's makruh to use water that's heated with the sun. Why did they say it's makruh? Ahsant. So there they have some evidences. This is one of the prominent hadith, and that is that the Prophet ﷺ said to Aisha, لا تفعلي يا حميراء لا تفعلي هذا يا حميراء فإنه يورث البرص. It causes al-baras. And we said that's a fabricated hadith. And so in order for us to say something is makruh, because the basis is that it is permissible, we can't say it's makruh unless we have an evidence that takes it from permissibility to karaha. So we need the evidence. So when we say something makruh, you have to say, okay, like what's the proof? What's the proof? طيب. What if someone found what did they find that's najis? Some feces. And they wanted to make a fire and they gathered some and they lit it and they put a pot of water on top. What's the ruling on that water? Heating the water with something najis. Permissible. طيب. Just like that? Permissible. Huh.
But those who objected is the Hanabila. They said if the fumes of the smoke or something drops out.
أيوة. أحسنت.
That's when it gets impermissible.
Yeah. نعم. So, طيب, is the smoke itself, is it najis or طاهر?
It's ṭāhir.
طاهر. أحسنت. Why? It's because it turned into something else. It's not najāsah anymore. It turned into something pure. So, even though there's differing on that issue, but the correct position on that is that it has turned into something which is ṭāhir. And that's the issue of istihala, يعني something changing from one form to another, but that's a different topic. طيب, what about heating it with something ṭāhir? Permissible. Evidence? Ijma'. نعم, by consensus. Ijma'. Like, what if someone stole water or took it by force, illegal, and he made tahara with it? What's the ruling? Permissible? What's permissible? No, it's not. It's haram. It's haram. The tahara is correct. There's a difference between saying it's permissible and saying it's correct. Because not everything correct that makes, if it's correct, doesn't necessarily mean that the water is permissible. So, in that case, it's correct. Why is it correct? It's haram to take the water, akhi. Why are you saying correct?
The origin of water, using water is not wrong, but he's doing a sin when he's still what?
طيب, but he's making wudu with it. You don't say no hadith, but you say there's no prohibition, there's no text that explicitly forbids that water being used in purification. And so it's an external prohibition. طيب. What else? نعم. طيب, amount of water. Or before that, if water changes due to najāsah, what happens? Najis by consensus. Najis by consensus. طيب. If there's a small amount of water, and when we say small amount of water, what do we mean? قلتين. Right. There's different opinions, as we said last time. There's different opinions on what is a small amount, what is a large amount. The strongest position in this regard is that the large amount is what is قلتين and above. And the small amount is what is less than قلتين. How much is al-قلتين? No. Around 300 liters, according to some modern researchers. Some reach different conclusions. Some reach different conclusions. Some say like 160 liters almost. And there's other opinions. So, طيب. So if we have a small amount of water and najāsah mixes with it, what happens to the ruling of the water? What is the ruling on it? If it changes the smell, taste or color, it's najis by? Go ahead. Think about it. So if it's a small amount and the color and taste or smell changes, that's what I'm asking. Small amount, color, taste, or smell changes. It's what? It's what? What's the ruling? Najis or ṭāhir? Najis. By ijma'. Now, a small amount, najāsah mixes and it doesn't change. That's what you're referring to, correct? So what's the ruling on it?
If the smell doesn't change, the taste doesn't change, and the color doesn't change, then it's
It's pure. طيب. Some of them said it becomes najis. Some of them said it becomes najis. And that's one of the most important issues in this, the rulings related to water. Why did we say it's what? ṭāhir. Why did we say it's ṭāhir then? Huh? Because what? Okay, but najāsah mixed with it.
because the opinion we choose is the small amount of najis is not going to make it impermissible, regardless of.
Okay, but why? We know that. That's with our claim. Now we need the proof for that claim.
The other opinion is not contradictory, because then you have to have more than 300 years.
So you're right. It doesn't become najis. But why did we say that? We said because the basis is that it is pure. And in order for us to say that now it has gone from pure to najis, we need a proof. We need a proof. And we said, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْمَاءَ طَهُورٌ لَا يُنَجِّسُهُ شَيْءٍ. And so we have tahur and najis. So that other position, the ones who said that it becomes najis, even if the color or smell or taste doesn't change, if it's a small amount, they said, for example, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْمَاءَ إِذَا بَلَغَ قُلَّتَيْن لَمْ يَحْمِلِ الْخَبَثِ. Water, if it reaches the amount of qullatayn, it does not carry khabath, meaning najāsah. So it's the hadith. What's implied in the hadith? The implication here is that if it does not reach qullatayn, then it does carry khabath. So how do we respond to that claim? Because that's what they say. They said the Prophet said, إِذَا بَلَغَ الْمَاءُ, if it reaches qullatayn, so that means if it's less than qullatayn, it does carry najāsah. How do we respond to that? The ijma' of what? No, they don't disagree with that ijma'. They say, you're right, of course, it's ijma'. We all agree on that. If the color changes. Our issue of differing is something else. And that is, if it's a small amount, and those characteristics didn't change, then we still say it's najis, because it's a small amount of water. And the Prophet said, if it reaches qullatayn, it carries najāsah. And so if it's less than qullatayn, if it reaches qullatayn, it does not carry najāsah. And so if it's less than qullatayn, it does carry najāsah. They're saying that's the implication of the hadith. We have a rule. And that is that if we have an explicit meaning in a hadith and an implicit meaning in a hadith, which one takes precedence? Explicit. Right, explicit indication of a proof takes precedence over implicit indication. The hadith now that says if water reaches 2 qullas, it does not carry khabath, meaning najāsah. And thus it is implied that if it's less than qullatayn, it does carry khabath. Is that an implicit? Is that implied or explicitly stated? It's implied. But we have a hadith that says, إِنَّ الْمَاءَ طَهُورٌ لَا يُنَجِّسُهُ شَيْءٍ. Water is tahur and nothing makes it najis. Is that explicit or implicit? Explicit. So we give precedence to the explicit explicit indication over the implicit one. Okay. And as we said, the fact that water is divided into only tahur and najis is that which is more consistent with the evidences and more practical. طيب. And also, we mentioned some evidences that the A'rabi, when he came to the masjid and he urinated and they poured the water in it, was it a large amount of water or a small amount of water? It was a small amount. It definitely wasn't qullatayn, and it purified the place. نعم. طيب. How about something which has changed due to being close to najāsah, but not mixing with it? Huh? Does not become najis. Does not become najis. Even if the smell changes? Huh? It's not yajuz, it's... What's the ruling on the water? Is it ṭāhir? Is it najis? Is it tahur? Tahur. It's still tahur. And we mentioned that some mentioned this as a consensus. Some mentioned it as there's no differing in this. As long as it doesn't mix, of course. The najāsah didn't mix with the water. طيب. And we mentioned one other thing, and that is, how do we purify najis water? Yeah. That's what we said. Huh? No, us. What did we say? Huh? Eliminate it? Any method. Oh, any method that removes the najāsah. Correct. This is the correct position. Any method that removes the najāsah and the change that has happened to water due to najāsah, then the water becomes pure. The water becomes pure. طيب. Now that's as it relates to الماء المتنجس. طيب. Then they said الماء المختلط بطاهر غير ممازج. 7 on page 19. Number 7. الماء المختلط بطاهر غير ممازج. Water which mixes with something which is طاهر but does not dissolve in the water. طيب. إذا تغير الماء بدهن أو قطع كافور أو عنبر وغير ذلك مما لا يستهلك في الماء ولا يتحلل فيه فالماء طهور. وهذا مذهب الجمهور الحنفية والشافعية والحنابلة وهو قول عند المالكية. نعم. لماذا؟ لأن بعضهم قال هو طاهر غير طهور. بعضهم قال هو طهور ولكنه مكروه. طيب. So they said if water changes due to like fat or pieces of kafur or ambar, which, these things which are used to pieces, like perfume things. It has a nice smell. And, no, this is, ambar is like, it's solid. Yeah. And, وَغَيْرِ ذَلِكَ مِمَّا لَا يُسْتَهْلَكُ, and other things which does not dissolve, does not mix with the water, then the water is tahur. It's tahur. And this is the position of the Jumhur, al-Hanafiyya, Shafi'iyya, Hanabila, and a position among the Malikiyya. Why did they mention this? Because some of them said that if water mixes with something which is ṭāhir, something solid though, it doesn't dissolve in the water, then the water becomes ṭāhir, but it's not tahur. Okay? And some of them said, no, it's tahur, but it's just makruh to use it. And the correct position is that it's what? It is tahur. It is tahur without any karāha. Without any karāha, because it's still called water. It's still called water. Now, another issue which they didn't mention here, and they should have mentioned it, and it is something ṭāhir which mixes with the water, and dissolves in the water. Okay? So what is the ruling on that? Something which is ṭāhir mixes and dissolves in the water. Like I have, what do we have? Juice, orange juice, in this bottle, and we have water in this bottle. I take the orange juice and I put 1 drop. What's the ruling on the water? Huh? Not yajuz. We don't say yajuz. We say, what's the ruling on the water? Is it tahur still? I can make wudu with it? Depends on what? Ṭāhir. So you can't make wudu with it. Now you're getting close. طيب. So, if we have something ṭāhir that dissolves in the water, and it has no effect on the water, or it has a very small effect to the color or taste or smell, but I still say this is a bottle of water, then if I use it, it is tahur. I can use it for purification. No issue. I still call it water. That's the first case. The second case is if I pour all of the juice and someone looks at it and he says, this is juice, this is not water anymore. What's the ruling in that case? It's ṭāhir, but it's not tahur. It's ṭāhir, it's pure, obviously, juice is pure. But is it purifying? No. Why? Because it's not called water anymore. It's called juice. It's not called water. Same thing with tea. Tea is just, it just changes the color. But when you look at it, do you call it water or do you call it tea? Tea, it's not called water, so you can't make tahara with it. Because it's not called water, because it took the name away. It does not fall under the category of just unrestricted water, as we said, al-ma' al-mutlaq. Like, that's the second case. Just it's not even called water anymore. It took away the name of the water. You call it something else. One second. Like soup, for example, right? If you cook if you cook your udhiyah in a pot, you're adding water, all water. You put some pieces of meat. Now someone says, "What's this al-maraq?" Right? The soup. If you look at it and you say it's soup, can you make purification with it? Why? It's not called water. Not called water. It took away the name. Took away the name. The third and final case is, some of them said that if you add something pure to it, and it changed the water, it changed it, some of them said that it is ṭāhir, but it's not tahur. It's ṭāhir, but it's not tahur. And this is based on the opinion that water is how many categories? 3 categories. That ṭāhir, tahur, and najis. We say, no. As long as it's called water, it is tahur. If it's not called water anymore, the name is gone, then it is najis. I put orange juice. Huh? Ṭāhir. Ṭāhir. So it becomes ṭāhir when the name is taken away. Understood? If you add, shai or whatever, juice. So as long as the name is there, as long as it falls under the category of water, then what? Then what? It is tahur. As long as you call it water, it is tahur. Even if something ṭāhir mixed with it a little bit. Understood? Ibrahim, you look questioning something. How? No, if you're saying it's water, all water is purifying. As long as it doesn't become najis. And we mentioned the evidences. If it's called water, is it purifying? No, if it is called water. Exactly. And so as long as it's called water, it is purifying. If the name is gone, then it's not purifying anymore. But it still may be pure. Pure, right? Rose water, how is that made?
The name is over there, right? I know you call it rose water, but would it still be considered pure enough?
The fuqaha mentioned rose water, and they said that's a restricted form of water, which is taken from the plant. But it's not al-ma' al-mutlaq, unrestricted water. Okay, so it's not correct then to use rose water. It's not correct to use rose water. It's not unrestricted water. And the fuqaha, that's the example they give when they talk about, al-ma' al-mutlaq. Just, it should be unrestricted water. And we gave the example of what? Coconut water. Coconut water. Can you use it? No.
What about sparkling water?
Sparkling? I don't know. How did they make it? If you open it and leave it, it just becomes water, right? The carbon. Yeah, then that's طهور. نعم. طيب. أين وصلنا؟ الثامن المختلط بطاهر يشق صون الماء عنه. إذا تغير الماء بما يشق صونه عنه فإنه طهور وذلك في الجملة نقل الإجماع على ذلك ابن رشد وابن قدامة وابن تيمية. The eighth is water which mixes with something which is ṭāhir, but it's difficult to protect the water from it, to preserve the water from it. Then they said, if water changes due to that which it is difficult to protect the water from, then it is still tahur. And that is in general, the ijma' has been relayed by Ibn Rushd and Ibn Qudama and Ibn Taymiyyah. Like what, for example? Something where it's difficult to protect the water from, like you have a pool of water, for example, leaves fall into it, or dust, or algae grows in it, right? And it may change the water a little bit, change the color a little bit, it may change the taste a little bit. These things which are ṭāhir, of course, these things which are ṭāhir, soil might be at the bottom. Does that change the ruling of the water? No, it is still tahur. It is still tahur, and this is an ijma'. So if algae, for example, grows in a pond of water, algae and some plants and things, the water still has the same ruling, and that is that it is tahur. طيب. Ninth, التاسع المتغير بمكثه. الماء المتغير بمكثه ماء طهور باتفاق المذاهب الفقهية الأربعة. نعم ولا يكره because some of them said it is makruh and we say it is not makruh. So the ninth is water which has changed due to stagnation. Right? Stagnant water. We know that water, if it's left exposed for a long time, it becomes stagnant. The taste may change, tastes different, and the smell also may change. They call that al-ma' al-ajin. Al-ma' al-ajin. And it also may be called al-ma' al-asin. Al-ma' al-asin, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, مثل الجنة التي وعد المتقون فيها أنهار من ماء غير آسن. فيها أنهار من ماء غير آسن. It's not asin, meaning it didn't, the water is fresh. It didn't change due to stagnation. So, if water changes due to stagnation, then it is tahur, and it is and this is by the agreement of the four fiqhi madhahib. And we say we can add to this also, important to add to this, and it is not makruh. Why are we saying, and it is not makruh? Because some said it is makruh. Some said it is. Some of the salaf dislike that a person makes tahara with stagnant water, stale water. طيب. العاشر المتغير بالملح. الملح لا يسلب الماء الطهورية، وهذا مذهب الحنفية والمالكية ووجه للشافعية وقول للحنابلة واختاره ابن تيمية وابن باز وابن عثيمين. The 10th is المتغير بالملح, that which has changed due to salty water. He says salt does not take away the tahuriyya of the water. Does not make it, not purifying. And this is the madhab of the Hanafiya and the Malikiyya and one of the positions of the Shafi'iyya and an opinion among the Hanabila, and was chosen by Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Baz and Ibn Uthaymeen. So, salty water. Does it mean that it's not tahur anymore? It is tahur. An evidence for that we treat it the same way that ocean water is treated. يُلْحَقُ بِمَاءِ الْبَحْرِ. And the proof that ocean water is tahur is that the Prophet ﷺ, of course it's water that has remained in its original state, and the Prophet ﷺ was asked about ocean water, and he said, هُوَ الطَّهُورُ مَاؤُهُ الْحِلُّ مَيْتَتُهُ. Its water is purifying and its mayta is halal. Its water is purifying and its mayta is halal. And so salt water takes the same ruling, salty water takes the same ruling as ocean water. طيب. حكم الطهارة بالنبيذ. 11 حكم الطهارة بالنبيذ. The 11th, the ruling on making tahara with a fermented drink. And Nabīdh, the ruling on making tahara with a Nabīdh. And Nabīdh is when you put, how do you make alcohol? How did they used to make alcohol or wine? They'd put like dates or raisins or grapes and mix it with water until it ferments and changes. So a Nabīdh is when you put, dates in a cup or raisins or whatever, and then you pour water over it until it changes it. And so it's called a Nabīdh. It's called a Nabīdh. So what's the ruling on making tahara with a Nabīdh? Why? Then why are they mentioning this? Like, why not mention juice or something? Why are they mentioning Nabīdh here? طيب, they said لا يصح التطهر بالنبيذ وجد الماء أو عدم وهو مذهب الجمهور المالكية والشافعية والحنابلة ومذهب الظاهرية وهو رواية عن أبي حنيفة اختارها أبو يوسف الطحاوي وبه قال طائفة من السلف. Okay, I'm going to translate and you guys are going to try to understand why they mentioned this. They said it is not correct to purify oneself with a Nabīdh, regardless of whether water is present or not. And it is the madhab of the majority, the Malikiyya and the Shafi'iyya and the Hanabila and the madhab of the Ṭāhiriyya. And it is a narration from Abu Hanifa, and it was chosen by Abu Yusuf, of course, the prominent Hanafi scholar, the companion of Abu Hanifa. وَالطَّحَاوِي, also a Hanafi scholar. وَبِهِ قَالَ طَائِفَةٌ مِنَ السَّلَفِ, and it is the position of a group of the Salaf. طيب. What are we getting from that? Huh?
When the water is fermented, they do not consider it to be water anymore.
Yeah, they agree with that. They say yes, but why are they even mentioning this? Why mention this out of all things that you could use, which are ṭāhir? You get it? Nabīdh is ṭāhir. There's so many things. Huh? طيب, who? Huh? Here, you get the clue from what they said. They said, and it is the madhab of al-Malikiyya, al-Shafi'iyya, al-Hanabila, the madhab of the Ṭāhiriyya, and a narration from Abu Hanifa. Huh? Aywa. So there's another position from Abu Hanifa that says it is permissible. Because they say here, it's a narration from Abu Hanifa. So there must be some other narration from him that says it is permissible to do so. And they said, اختارها Abu Yusuf and al-Tahawi. It was chosen by Abu Yusuf and Tahawi, meaning that narration from Abu Hanifa, that position. And a group of the Salaf. طيب. So this is the madhab of Abu Hanifa. The madhab of Abu Hanifa is that if you do not find water, there's no water present, and you need to purify yourself, you can use an-Nabīdh. An-Nabīdh. And they have certain narrations that they use. One is the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, where he said, كنت مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ليلة لقي الجن فقال أمعك ماء؟ فقلت لا. فقال ما هذه الإداوة؟ ما هذه الإداوة, like a container. قلت, يعني something to hold water. قلت نبيذ. قال أرنيها. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم تمرة طيبة وماء طهور. تمرة طيبة وماء طهور فتوضأ منها ثم صلى بنا. فتوضأ منها ثم صلى بنا. So their main evidence in this regard, the madhab of Abu Hanifa and those who took this position, and there are a small minority among the fuqaha, is that the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, where he said, I was with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam the night he met the jinn. And he told me, do you have water? He said, no. So notice, there's no what? There's no water. And so he said, what is this idawa? Like a container used to hold liquids usually. He said, what is this idawa? He said, Nabīdh. And so the Prophet ﷺ said, show it to me. And he said, Tamratun طيبة وماء طهور. A good tamra and pure water. So it's Nabīdh. And so the Prophet ﷺ made wudu from it, and he prayed, he led the prayer, he led us in prayer. Ṭāhir, what do we do with that?
So one of the reasons this masala is mentioned in Nabīdh here because of the text.
Yeah, and that's why they took that position. They adopted the position indicated by the text.
Is Nabīdh like alcohol?
No, it's a state before it reaches. Okay, so it becomes fermented from it. It's not called water anymore. Huh? No, Ahsan. Hadith is weak, and it goes against the Quran, where Allah said, what? فَإِن لَمْ تَجِدُوا. Huh? What do you do if you don't find water according to the Quran? Tayammum. And in fact, not only does it go against some Quranic texts, it goes against many hadith in the Sunnah, where the Prophet ﷺ would tell people, if you don't find water, then do tayammum. He doesn't say, if you don't find water, look for Nabīdh. Okay? So, and that's strange for the Hanafis. That's a strange position for some Hanafis, because one of their principles in the madhab is that if there's a hadith or a ahad hadith which goes against a Quranic verse, then the Quranic verse takes precedence. Here they gave precedence to the hadith, the ahad hadith. طيب. So, as we said, Nabīdh, it's not called water anymore. It's not called water, so it's not permissible to purify oneself with it. طيب. And also, the hadith goes against an authentic hadith, I think it's in Sahih Muslim, by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, where he said, I wasn't with the Prophet on the night he met the jinn. This says he what? He was with the Prophet. So, this one says he was. The authentic hadith says, I wasn't with the Prophet the night. So the hadith is no doubt, it is weak. No doubt that the hadith is weak. طيب. The fifth issue, because this is the fifth issue. The first issue was what? Categories of water. The second issue was, what is al-ma' al-mutlaq, unrestricted water. We talked about that. The third issue was najis water. The fourth is al-ma' al-mukhtalit, al-mutaghayyir, water that changes. I mentioned some changes to Najāsah, changes due to something which is ṭāhir, small amount, large amount. Now the fifth and final issue is al-ma' al-musta'mal, used water. And this is also an extremely important issue in the chapter of Ṭahara, used water. طيب. قالوا خامسا الماء المستعمل في رفع الحدث. الماء المستعمل، ما هو الماء المستعمل؟ الماء المنفصل من العضو. الماء المنفصل من العضو. الماء المستعمل في رفع الحدث من الوضوء والغسل طاهر في نفسه مطهر لغيره، وهذا مذهب المالكية والظاهرية وقول عند الحنفية وقول عند الشافعية ورواية عن أحمد وهو قول طائفة من السلف واختيار ابن المنذر وابن تيمية وابن باز والألباني وابن عثيمين. They say, the first, now under this fifth thing that we're talking about, the first issue, water which has been used to lift a hadath. Remember we said tahara is what? Lifting hadath, or what falls under the meaning of lifting hadath, and removing khabath. So water that has been used to lift a hadath, they call it used water in the books of fiqh. What is it? What's it called? Used water. What is used water? It's the water that separates from the body parts that you purify, that you're purifying. So someone makes wudu, for example, they wash their hands, the water is dripping. Imagine collecting that water, washing, right? Wash their face, water is dripping. That used water now, can I use it to lift a hadath? Understood? So they said, used water, water which was used to lift a hadath from wudu or ghusl, is pure in and of itself and is purifying. And this is the madhab of the Malikiyya and the Ṭāhiriyya, and a opinion among the Hanafiyya, and a opinion among the Shafi'iyya, and a narration from Ahmad, and it is the opinion of a group of the Salaf, and was chosen by Ibn al-Munzir and Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Baz and al-Albani and Ibn Uthaymin. Why do they mention this? Not permissible? كيف يعني? Yeah, of course. I'm not agreeing, but I'm just, I don't like the wording. Yeah, but is that person, what are they doing with it? Are they using it to make wudu, the next person? No. Or some of them said that. طيب. So some of them said used water. Some said this is a position for some of the fuqaha. They said it's najis. Why? Why? They said because this water is removing sins. And sins are disgusting. Sins are filth. So how can you use this water? Is that a strong argument? Why not? The sins, do you see it in the water? Is it really mixing? Or is it? No. Even if there's completely clean. So some said it's najis. This is minority position. The ones who said that, you can't use used water, most of them said it's ṭāhir, but it's not ṭahūr. Again, we go back to the issue of the 3 categories or 2 categories. As we said, this applies to many issues in water. So, some of them said it's najis. Who said it's najis? Some of the Hanafiyya. They said, you know that? Huh? No, but I also said Shafi'iyya, narration from Ahmad, there's different positions. Some of them said it is tahur, it's tahur, but it's makruh to use it. Most of them said it's ṭāhir, but it's not tahur. It's ṭāhir, it's pure water. I mean, you can use it to cook or whatever. It's ṭāhir, but you can't purify yourself with it. Why? Because a hadath was already lifted with it. And so it doesn't lift your hadath now. Can't lift a different person's hadath. طيب. So this is as it relates to used water. But as we said, used water is what? ṭāhir and mutahhir. ṭāhir and mutahhir. Now, this is a ruling that the ummah really needs, right? If we were to say, because this is all built on the issue, is water 3 categories or 2 categories? If we say water is 3 categories, and there's a category of water which is ṭāhir, but it is not tahur, meaning if you make wudu with that water, your wudu is not correct. and thus your salah is not correct. Your salah is batila because you didn't lift your hadath. A ruling like that, don't you think that the Sharia would clarify it explicitly? Like the text would be clear in it. But what we have when it comes to dividing the water into three categories is vague text. Weak indications by the text. Weak indications by the text. And so if this was really something which, because it affects the whole ummah, everyone needs to purify themselves, and it's related to the most important daily action of your life, then wouldn't the Prophet ﷺ would have clarified that water is like this and this and this? Now, and so that weakens the position of those who said that water is three categories. Used water is what? Ṭāhir, but it's not ṭahūr. طيب. Why is it ṭahūr? Why do we say it's ṭahūr? We're sticking to what? The asl, the basis. Bring us an evidence that says if used water cannot be used for tahara. Bring us an evidence. We can't say that this water cannot be used for lifting hadith unless we have an evidence, either from correct qiyas or ijma' or Quran or sunnah. طيب. The second, الماء المستعمل في طهارة مستحبة. Water which is used for a mustahab tahara. مستحب طهارة. الماء المستعمل في طهارة مستحبة كتجديد وضوء ونحو طهور، وهذا مذهب الجمهور المالكية والشافعية في الأصح والحنابلة والظاهرية وزفر من الحنفية. They said water which is used for a mustahab tahara, such as what is mustahab tahara? Renewing your wudu and so on, is tahur. And this is the madhab of the Jumhur, the Malikiyya, the Shafi'iyya in the more correct position, the Hanabila and the Ṭāhiriyya, and Zufar from the Hanafiyya. So we mentioned al-ma' al-musta'mal fi raf' al-hadath, water which is used to lift what? Hadath. We said, some of them said it's ṭāhir but not ṭahūr. But what about mustahab hadath? It's not mustahab tahara. It's not lifting hadath. What do you guys say now? Some of them said, now you can use it. Why? Because it didn't lift the hadath. You understand? And so that's why you see more ulama saying that it's correct to use it if it was used in a mustahab hadath. طيب, the third, الماء المستعمل في التبرد والنظافة, water which is used to cool oneself or clean oneself, not from najāsah though, but just or maybe even clean something else, such as clean a thawb, but not from najāsah. So someone uses water to cool themselves. Their intention, of course, is not to lift hadath, nor is it a mustahab tahara. They said الماء المستعمل في التبرد والنظافة طهور، وهذا مذهب الجمهور المالكية والشافعية والحنابلة ومذهب الظاهرية، وبه قال محمد بن الحسن من الحنفية. Water which is used to cool oneself is طهور, and that is the madhab of the Jumhur, المالكية, الشافعية, الحنابلة, the madhab of the Ṭāhiriyya, and it also is the opinion of Zufar and Muhammad ibn al-Hasan of the Hanafiyya. Now, so you notice that these people who are saying if it's lifting hadath, it's tahur, but it's not. It's ṭāhir, but it's not tahur. And then when they came to water which is used for mustahab tahara, more of them said what? Tahur. Then when you came to using it just to cool down, even more said it is tahur. And that indicates the weakness of the position of those who said you can use it to cool yourself down, but you cannot use it if it was used for lifting hadath. Water that was used to cool someone down, you can use it. You can use it for purification. But water that was used to lift someone's hadath, you can't use that for purification. But what's the difference? Isn't the body of the mu'min pure? The only thing that changed between someone lifting their hadath and someone using water to cool down is only their intention. Someone said, I want to cool down. They don't intend wudu. They wash, they do madmada, istinshaq, and everything. That water, they said, what? Ṭāhir. But what about the water someone used to lift their hadath? It's not permissible. What changed? How are you differentiating? Naam. And that indicates the weakness of this position. طيب. Any questions on used water before we move on? Used water.
Is there a text that the Prophet Muhammad used to remove how they used to collect water?
But did it say that they made wudu with it? I don't recall. I mean, they would collect it. I mean, I don't even think it would be enough to make wudu. Because if you were collecting just dripping water, and the Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu with a very small amount of water, muddain. Some of the Salaf used to make wudu and the floor wouldn't get wet. That's how little water they use. Today you go to the masjid and the whole floor there's more water on the floor than there is on the person. Sah? They waste more water than they use. More water goes down in the sink than they put on their body. So the sunnah is to use a small amount of water. So if there was anything dripping from the Prophet ﷺ, it would be a small amount, definitely not enough to make a second purification with it. So anyone else before we move on? On what? That it's ṭāhir. Oh, actually they mentioned it here. No. Because it's mubarak. Because it touched the Prophet ﷺ's body. And the Prophet ﷺ's body is mubarak. Even his sweat.
If someone uses the water to remove the hadith, and if the water changes or have smell and everything, then still it's tahur?
Yeah. Tahur, but as long as, of course, it doesn't change due to najāsah. Najāsah is something else.
But if
Like someone makes a ghusl, for example.
somebody is having karaha, then don't want to do it.
Of course, they don't have to. Of course not. No. The Prophet ﷺ, once Ali ibn Abi Talib brought some water to the Prophet ﷺ that was carried in his shield. Okay? This made of leather. Allahu a'lam what it was, but the point is that the smell of the water changed. And so he brought it to the Prophet ﷺ for his purification, and he smelled it and he didn't want to use it. Okay? Even though it's what? Tahur. It's tahur. But you being, you don't like it or you're disgusted from it, that's a different issue. We're not saying you have to.
Also, the one more instance, they bought some lizard to Rasulullah. He said this is permissible, but there's not some.
Yeah, but that's something else. That's food. Sahih. طيب.
I have a question. So let's say you're clean and you do wudu. Let's say you do wudu and then you urinate and then you have to do wudu again, but your body is physically clean. But you're not pure technically. So you do wudu again. The water that you use to do wudu is clean because you're physically clean, right? So
Yeah.
is that tahur? Is that impure?
If you introduce the hadath, then of course you have to make another wudu. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you have to. Of course. Even if the water is still on you. Of course. طيب. Fourth, as it relates to used water, الماء المستعمل بغمس يد القائم من النوم. الماء المستعمل بغمس يد القائم من النوم طهور، وهذا مذهب الجمهور الحنفية والمالكية والشافعية، وهو رواية عن أحمد. طيب. The fourth, they said water which is used when someone dips their hand in it after sleep. Okay? Dipping the hand in a container of water, man, someone has a container of water, and they dip their hand in it after sleeping. طيب. They said water which is used due to the hand being dipped in it after sleep is tahur. And this is the position of the Jumhur, the majority, the Hanafiya, the Malikiyya, and the Shafi'iyya, and it's a narration from Ahmad. So who opposed here? The Hanabila. So, طيب. The basis in this is that the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا اسْتَيْقَظَ أَحَدُكُم مِّن نَوْمِهِ فَلَا يَغْمِسْ يَدَهُ فِي الْإِنَاءِ حَتَّى يَغْسِلَهَا ثَلَاثًا فإن أحدكم لا يدري أين باتت يده. طيب. So, the basis in this is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. If one of you wakes up from his sleep, then he should not put his hand in the water until he washes it 3 times. Because one of you does not know where your hand slept. Okay? Or does not know where your hand kind of was during the night. You don't know where your hand was during the night. So they mention this. It's tahur. The water is tahur. If he dipping his hand, what's the ruling on dipping his hand? The ruling on dipping his hand. Makruh. Some said haram because the Prophet forbade it. Now, this relates to the issue, what is the reason that the Prophet ﷺ forbade this? Why did he say, don't dip your hand in there because you don't know where your hand slept? Is it because it could possibly become contaminated with najāsah? The ones who said it could possibly become contaminated with najāsah, they said, well, if you know that there's no najāsah on your hand, then it's legislated to use that water. If you know, even if you dipped your hand, you used it. Some said it's ta'abbudi. We don't know the wisdom why, we don't know the reasoning why the Prophet ﷺ forbade it. And so, for example, if someone puts their hands and tie it in a bag or something, and they sleep, he wakes up. According to those who said it's ta'abbudi, it was the Hanabila, they said it's ta'abbudi, can he dip his hand in the water? Huh? No. Because they said we don't know the reasoning behind this prohibition. Just like the Prophet ﷺ, like it might be something ghaibi, right? Just like when the Prophet ﷺ, he said, if one of you wakes up from your sleep, then he should take in water through his nose 3 times because shaitan sleeps on his khayshum, right? On his nose. So, some said it has something to do with shaitan. Some said it's ta'abbudi, we don't know what it is. Some said, no, it's because of najāsah. So your hand doesn't get some najāsah on it. You don't know. Therefore, according to these ones, if someone sleeps and their hands are covered, there's no way that najāsah can reach it. And he wakes up and he takes it off. Can he use it according to them? No. According to the ones who said, the reason is the najāsah. Yes. Why? Because he's sure that najāsah didn't reach my hand. My hand didn't get dirty. Okay?
Why do we say we don't know the wisdom? Because the Prophet said you don't know where your hand has been.
Yeah, but does that, when he said you don't know where your hand has been, is he referring to it could have touched najāsah?
But that shows there's a reason why it's not allowed.
Okay, what's the reason?
You know the reason, but if the hand is covered, the Hanabila should say it's allowed.
Why?
Maybe even if we don't know the wisdom, because now we know where the hand has been. Now we know where the hand has been. It's not.
If we know how the hand has been. Like, if someone doesn't have the bag, he doesn't know where his hand went, he doesn't know where it was. No, they're saying it could be something we don't know the wisdom behind. When you're saying we know where, put it in a bag, we know where the hand has been, you're imagining that it's not affected by najāsah. You get it? But they're saying, no, we don't know the reason why.
Why did the Prophet say, because you don't know where the hand has been?
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Why did he say that? Why did he say that? So the ones who said, the reason is najāsah, they said, you don't know where your hand has been, meaning it could have touched something, maybe there's some najāsah on the body. That's what he means. That's what they said he means. Okay? طيب. Do we have time? Or what time is Isha? Do you guys want to continue or just take some questions? Huh? Adi, don't be shy. Yeah, continue. Continue, طيب. طيب الماء المستعمل في إزالة النجاسة وتغير أحد أوصافه. Water which has been used to remove najasa and one of its characteristics, the three characteristics, has changed. Water which has been used to remove najasa, if one of its characteristics changes due to najasa, then it is najis. And ijma' has been mentioned regarding this by Nawawi and Ibn Qudama and al-Iraqi. So that's clear, right? You have like let's say you have a piece of clothing, najasa on it, you put it in a bucket with water, and the water changes due to the najasa. The taste, the smell, or the color, because of the najasa. What's the ruling on the water? Najis. No, Najis. طيب. Now, water which has been used to remove najasa, but the water did not change. So we have najasa, and let's say on our example, a najasa on a piece of clothing. You put it in a bucket and you add some water, and you mix the water and the clothing. And you're sure there was najasa on it, but the water did not change. The smell, the color, or the taste did not change. What's the ruling? They said, water which has been used to remove najasa, if the three characteristics, if its characteristics did not change, then it is tahur. And this is the madhab of the Malikiyya and the opinion with the Shafi'iyya, and some of the Salaf said it, and Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim and Ibn Uthaymin. Do you understand? So if you use water to remove najasa, and that water does not change, it is tahur. It is tahur according to what we said, that if the characteristics don't change, it is tahur. The most strict, the most difficult madhab when it comes to many issues in the chapter of Ṭāhir is the Hanabila. Sometimes difficult. On this issue, they said, on the issue of like removing a najasa, they said najasa has to be removed by washing it how many times? 7. Some of the Hanafis said 3, but al-Hanabi, they have 7 times. So if you have a piece of clothing, najasa, and you want to wash it, and that water is used to remove najasa, they say you have to wash it how many times? 7 times. Every najasa, not just the dog. All najasat. All najasat. طيب, so let's say to the Hanabila, of course, to the Hanabila. Let's say the najasa was removed from the first time. Okay? You washed it the first time, najasa is gone. You still have to wash it a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time, and a fifth time. And they say the first 6 times the water is najis. Even if the najasa was removed from the first wash, the water is najis. But what about the 7th wash? What's the ruling on the water? Yeah, the water that was used in the 7th time. It's najis? So why are they saying 7 times? That means it didn't purify it.
The purity was with the water. It would take it away.
The purity or the najasa?
The najasa was with the water. It took it away.
On which one?
The second one, it took it away.
No.
The 6th one took it away. And the 7th one now.
The 7th one, they said the water is ṭāhir, but it's not tahur. Because now with the 7th one is when the ruling of it being pure took effect. Even if the najasa was removed the first or second or third or whatever time. So even they consider the water najis in all the first 6 times. It's najis water, even if it was removed. The 7th time, that water is now ṭāhir, but it's not tahur. If you wash it again, it is what? Now the water is tahur. Why is it? Because in the 7th time, it lifted the ruling of it being najis. Najis. Okay? It's kind of like what we said, lifting the hadath, used water. This is used water when it comes to removing najasa. Brother Waqqar, you Hanbali, you get mad if I say that? Huh? Some issues, like for example, they actually we'll mention that inshallah next time, like the issue of using the excess water of a woman after she uses, after she makes her wudu or ghusl. We'll talk about it next time, inshallah.
You mentioned the Hanabila are strict in the affairs of.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd say difficult. Yeah.
What I have seen from what we studied so far, the positions of Hanafi are weaker. Or like
They are, naam, that's true. That's true as well. But there are some issues where يعني the Hanabila oppose the Jumhur. Like for example on this issue, removing the Najāsah, the Hanafis, they have also some difficult positions because, due to their the principles they have in their madhab, they say 3 times. Okay, or like when we said about water which is used to lift hadath, they said what? The used water becomes najis. The madhab, or it's a narration from Abu Hanifa. One of the narrations from Abu Hanifa. The ruling of it being najis, not the actual physical najasah. Because the actual physical najasah could have been washed away in the first time. But when do we say now this place, this spot is pure? When? They say with the 7th time we say it's pure. Even though the physical najasah may have went away the first or second time. But you guys need to just understand the correct positions on these issues. And that's what they're giving you. But this is, we're just, adding a little bit extra. I don't want to confuse you guys because in reality it gets a little bit complicated on some issues. Zufar min al-Hanafiyya, naam. Zufar, any Hanafis here? When? Hussein? Ask him, who is Zufar? Zufar was one of the, in fact, perhaps the top student of Abu Hanifa. Zufar, he was, lived in the 2nd century, and he died young. Rahimahullah, and he was the one who took the place of Abu Hanifa after he died in teaching. And that's, that shows you his status, among the Hanafis and among his, the people in his time, the companions and students of Abu Hanifa. So he was one of the, top students of the Hanafis, of Abu Hanifa, Abu Hanifa, and one of the most prominent figures in the Hanafi madhab. طيب نكتفي بهذا. بارك الله فيكم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.